This is what I've been working on over the last couple of days. I fairly often work with tubes or valves, if you'd like to call them, I'm currently building a regulated power supply, and the thing is, prototyping with tubes is not that easy, since you can't use a breadboard. You just have to sort of make up a chassis and solder it together, which is a bit hard if you want to try different designs. So what I did is I built me a not solderless breadboard where you intended to solder to. And how this works is I have 3 common terminals here. This is for ground, this is for B+, and this I call C+, which is just for one additional voltage, like a additional voltage for a preamp section or something. And they have those lugs on here. I put some brass lugs on here like this, which you can clamp to. This is for the filament, 2 big section and one if I want to have a center tab for something. And these are auxiliary terminals where you can connect components to. Just solder them on here and connect them to something. And this is where I'm going to have 4 tube sockets. I'm going to have 2 B9A on Novel, like the miniature 9-pin tube socket here, and 1 Magnavolt here, or an octal. You could change it, put an octal socket here. I'm going to have a miniature socket here, and for that I 3D printed those little standoff boards like this. You can stick them down here with 4 bolts. This, for example, is going to sit on here like this, and I'm going to connect the pins up to these terminals here. And those are, they're specific for one kind of tube you stick in there. If you put a pentode in there, you can use this. Even if you have one where the internal screen is connected to the cathode internally, you just leave that empty. But you can also just rub this off with a bit of acetone, and then you can put other things there. For example, this where the B9A socket sits, I have 6 pads here. This is set up for pentode, but I could just as well put a double triode there, where I'd have like anode, cathode, grid 1, anode, cathode, grid 1 of the second triode. Same with a single triode, you would just use anode, cathode, grid 1, and just leave those empty. The filaments I'm going to connect to this if it's the same heater voltage, else I'm going to probably put, especially for the Magnavolt type, I'm going to put 2 more smaller pads here that you can supply external 36, for example, for this PL519, like this, and then you can have your 36 volt heater there, or just a regulated 300 milliampere supply. Yeah, I'm going to assemble the rest of it, and I'm actually fairly happy with how this turned out. It's going to make prototyping relatively easy, because you can just solder things on there, like connect the anode to the B+ with a resistor and a cable, and then it's fairly rigid and it doesn't flop around. And also with tubes and the high voltages involved, you often have a situation where just the resistor starts smoking or something if you connect something wrong. All the components are stood up from the wooden board a bit, so you can't burn anything. Especially this is like a piece of scrap wood. If I burn it a bit, it doesn't matter. It's not like if you use a solderless breadboard, which you should never use for tube design, where it just melt the breadboard. Yeah, so I'm going to assemble the rest of this, put some holes in here, stick this down, and then I'm probably going to show you that when it's completed. This is the finished breadboard. I configured it to use an EF80 here, PL519 here on the Magnavolt socket. I've got a spare 9-pin socket here, I've got the 7-pin socket down here where I've got a neon discharge voltage regulator. Also, I've got this set up. Yeah, I put some lugs back here for P-type valves with a 300 milliampere series heater, and here's just, it says E, it's 6.3. Yeah, so I'll connect all those up in parallel, and if I put a series string tube here, I'll just grab the wire from here, pass it down here, and then go up from here, and so I can just have a series string there. Nice thing about this is it's very sturdy and solid, and all the connections are very good, and you can just bridge over. One disadvantage is if you want to have a different tube, you've got to resolder those wires. Also, great thing, you know where all your connections are. This says anode, so it's connected to the anode. But yeah, you have to redo that if you use a different tube. By either just taking the writing off here and writing it down new, or just swapping the wire. I could also put an octal socket here or here, as well as here. I can change all of the sockets. I put those down with just some bolts, or even here. If I want to do something else, it's just set up for the power supply project that I'm working on at the moment. Those are just strips of FR4 circuit board that I glued down with an ethyl cyanocrylate based glue, basically super glue. They're also very sturdy. As I said, I've got those lugs here where I can connect some crocodile clips. Yeah, that's all about it. One thing I need to do is I need to put some feet on this, because the bolts protrude through the board, and that makes it very wobbly